it's not like the word got out to everybody and they just rushed in and we had to do an encore performance. It was an experiment, and I think the experiment went well.
And we know it went well because we saw evidence of that in the retrospective at the end.
Oh.
So a note, the retrospective at the end was very helpful because it confirmed some things for us. Okay, so another improv session. Anyone else?
What are our options for speakers? I don't even know how that has been approached by this group in the past.
Historically, it's been someone in the group who has taken on the challenge of putting together a talk, a lightning talk, whole presentation, workshop. It doesn't have to be something extensive, sage on a stage type. It can be, hey, let's perform the marshmallow challenge, which is a fun little game. Mike, anything that you could share on that?
It's Mike, we've got two of them.
Yeah, it's open mic. Go ahead, Mike.
No, other than pursuing some of the Dallas speakers that we mentioned, that improving is kind of cultivating some of their own speakers.
So those would be in the category of video speakers, I'm guessing, yes?
Okay.
No, I'm asking, what were your expectations there?
I don't know, still just pursuing to see if that would be available, an option.
Well, so I guess the reason you say video speakers is because we probably don't have budget for having somebody.
The actual, yeah.
Is that
Funny you should mention that. We have $1,500 at our disposal.
Really?
The Agile Alliance, of which I am a member, because if you go to a conference like I did last year, you get a year of membership, entitles me and any sort of one meetup I'm a part of, $1,500 getting speakers to come in. We paid last year for 2 speakers. Okay. So if we can find someone who will, come for, the price of plane fare and food and lodging.
Maybe a night stay, right?
Yeah, night stay. Yeah. Or one person who also says, and I want to be paid for my time. Probably could do that, but not both.
Right, exactly. And that oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah. Well, I was just going to, and again, I go back to PMI, same thing, right? PMI's got a little more budget. But as the programs director, it was always the question, it's when you negotiate with those speakers, how do they want to be compensated? Do they need to be compensated? And I think Mike just said that there's some improving presenters that maybe there's value in it for them to get out and do it, right?
Yeah. I'm not against bringing people in, but just as all work congregates toward the deadline, all bills congregate towards budgets.
Mm-hmm.
So there's sort of a tendency, if we have money, we may just spend it on stuff as opposed to exploring other solutions. I just want to make sure that we round all the possibilities and are driven by what's going to suit the needs and interests of membership versus, well, we can do this, and there's also the vanishing money problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I've mentioned on the email list video speakers, which could help stretch that budget.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm actually feeling an urge that I'd like to explore here, which is I would like to just spend 30 minutes thinking through my network of contacts and people who I think would make great speakers. Like maybe they would have things to talk about in their back pocket ready to go, and reach out and say, would you be available to do a video conference at my meetup or our meetup? So I'm going to do that, I think, in the next week, maybe this week, depends on availability. I will include you all in that discussion so that you can see what's happening and feed off of that. So if you say, hey, now that you've done that, I can see I want to do this, then you'll be available to do that. Hey, there he is.
I see you.
Mike, we were just talking about...
I'm sorry that you see us.
Yes. Yeah, we apologize.
All right.
We're just talking about speakers for next TAP or in future TAPs video versus travel, cost versus free. And I shared something that I intend to do this week or early next week, which is to spend some time thinking through my personal contacts, people who may have a talk ready to go. And I'll reach out to them, keep you all in the loop so that you can see what I'm doing and the progress I'm making there. And I also just invite you all to react to that throughout the week or now as you see fit. Come alongside, do something different. It's up to you.
Yeah, I was listening. I got most of it.
Okay, cool.
So on that topic, you had Robbie before, Robbie Berman, and is he an improving employee? I know his connections there.
No, he does have connections.
Yeah.
He works for himself, at least last I checked.
Yeah, okay. So, Mike mentioned improving. I don't know, maybe working through it, even like through somebody that's presented for it before, that maybe because we have a relationship already can help with saying, hey, because I think Robbie's they're all interested in growing the concepts and so we might be secondary type of contacts that we or first contacts that we work through the secondary contacts.
What I'm hearing from this is like you're wanting, what I'm hearing that is crawling the relationship map. Like I know this person who may know this person and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If, for example, we touch base with Robbie and we say, hey, here's our situation, and I'm just using Robbie as an example. You have others that, and maybe they don't have time, maybe they're giving, but they're trying to grow somebody, right? Mm-hmm. So that we might be able to do some of that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Robbie also helps organize his own meetup in the Dallas area, so he'd be a very rich node on the network, so to speak.
Yeah.
Lots of input to him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm writing down Robbie because his name has come up and there's potential there. I think I'll again sort of take.
And I wouldn't mind reaching out to Robbie.
Oh, you would? Okay.
I actually, he led the course that I took for my ESM certification.
Yeah, he's good at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm noting here that Neil said he would reach out. Okay. Seeing also we have 4 minutes left. So anything else on this subject or any other subjects for this next half?
I have bounced around is that one of our goals is to advance as practitioners. It seems like it would be great if we had more presentations that the subject was some actual activity going on inside of Tulsa, or just challenging some of our members to come up with a talk about something. I think the effort of putting together a talk gets you to think through a lot of things. So if we're just spending our time listening to some cool stuff and then it's just right back out and nothing's really changed, I don't know if we're really succeeding as a group as well as we could be. Sure.
Yeah, so what I'm writing down from that is eliciting practical learning from staff members, which is kind of, I guess, a little bit like the goal or the aim of the field report. But the field report isn't designed to be like a presentation to the group. It's mainly a check-in. Here's what's happening. Here's what I found. So it could be this, but more. So maybe there is a way we can focus in and get people to, in some way, share the learning that they're making every day.
We're already satisfying some of that. Then I want to kind of take a look at how strong that is before necessarily pushing too hard on doing presentations. Because the base, like the base is partially covered, and I just really wasn't super aware of, because the field report is still sort of a fuzzy concept in my mind. What it is.
Yeah, sort of an idea. Okay. Yeah. Mike needs to shave. It looks pretty obvious.
Your beard on your right side is expanded.
So you guys can see me?
We can.
You guys are frozen up. Of course, this is better. This is why I had to come home.
We're pranking you, Mike. We actually are just sitting still.
Yeah. Okay, we've got 2 minutes or 1 minute left on this topic. We may need to table this. How about we continue this talk about building the agenda for next TAP by adding what we've said so far, the improv session, and I just wrote down the field report. We want to see what's emerging there, to the agenda for next time, and then we can add to that as you all say, hey, I think we should do this, or I would like to do this.
What is the next time?
The second Thursday, which would be, in particular, sometimes I ignore those.
Okay, so we've got a ways though.
We've got,
And you're saying that we will get back together as this group before then?
yes, in some fashion, but that's for us to determine.
Yeah.
actually.
We got another agenda.
So TAP is on the 12th. Okay, we're at our time box, so we've got some progress here, and I will go ahead. Well, I could put these into a session or a little card in Trello, but maybe it would be good to see which one of you does not have that ability. Does anyone here not have the ability to log in and edit our Trello cards?
I know how to use Trello all the time. I don't know for sure if I check whether I have access. If I don't,
I've heard of Trello. I can't say that I've been in it, so I don't know the answer to that.
I think you do have access. So Neil, would you be okay if you and me working together make sure you get access, and then we'll start that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trello is super hard to use.
It is.
steep learning curve, but oh, it just unlocks so much. You have to have the keyboard macros going.
Mhm.
And scripts.
Okay, so Neil and I will take that. And what I'm doing here also is making sure we're rubbing in our cross-functionality as a group. Okay, next topic. We kind of hit on a little bit of this, which was future speakers and all that kind of thing, but you brought up an excellent point about the sort of future of this long-term or ahead of us planning, not paycheck to paycheck anymore. And you brought up the point of how do we measure our progress towards some goal. So let's talk about that a little bit, because if we are aligned around what our goal is here for TAP, it will make it easier for us to work in absentia of each other. We'll have that alignment. So what makes sense as a goal statement that we can work to or measure progress towards?
I mean, with any sort of art like this, like there's no maximum ability in Kung Fu. You just keep learning Kung Fu. So we're just thinking more about how solid is our process of learning Agile, how solid is our process of identifying issues that we have in our working lives or whatever craziness we are using Agile for. I make those judgments. How good are we at identifying the problems and using good processes to crowdsource some solutions on that, or get visibility from others, accountability. Just all the various ways we might make progress in our agility.
So what I was hearing before was not what I'm hearing you say now, or at least I was misinterpreting it. What I'm hearing in what you said there is, how do we measure the competence, the understanding and practice of agility for our members? And I was hearing there, so there's that. There's also, I would add to that, so yes and here, what is our sort of goal or the impact that's larger than any one member? The in the city part of it. I won't say the larger purpose, it is kind of a larger purpose, but it's like, it's compositional. You accomplish progress towards this. Then eventually, something larger happens. Right? What is anything larger that you all think about?
I have been sort of pondering whether we could provide basically like Code for Tulsa is a very good brigade of Code for America. They provide their hacking skills to civic challenges on kind of a volunteer basis. What if we provided Agile coaching or consulting for nonprofits or something they could never really afford a professional consultant that's doing good in the community, and get them set up and running well? What would that look?
So I'm going to note that as, say,
And I should start at the education. It's just
oh, really?
Oklahoma education.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of need there right now. Huh? So how would we put that if we were pitching a start? Yeah, how about we say it's like Uber for bananas? How would we say that?
Something for nonprofits.
Yeah, but what is agile?
What is agile?
Yeah.
Mhm.
What good is, yeah, if I don't know what agile is, I'm not doing it.
Well, this
What
only makes sense to us in this room now.
But you do bring up a good point.
Yeah, presenting it, presenting it that way.
We'll teach you buzzword.
Right.
How to buzzword be fully buzzword compliant? Well, we're done with it.
Your buzzword ability will be buzzword metric and sustainable.
Lots of synergy for you.
Or BMX.
So what I'm hearing is something like code Tulsa for
Agility.
agility. Take those two concepts, mash them together, and out comes this conceptual thing that's in your head trying to get out.
It's beautiful agility training.
Just like Persephone sprung from the head of Adonis when struck with an axe. Okay? I like this because this is getting at the stuff that no one person can do. And this is the third part of Dan Pink's drive. There's autonomy, the pursuit of mastery, and then connected this to a purpose that's larger than ourselves. That's part of self-determination theory. It's one of the things that motivates nearly every human being. So if we have something like that as well as you come to us for mastery, then we get the people who are motivated by that purpose as well.
Now, there's, of course, the whole Confucian principle of to master something, you have to teach it.
Yes, and you never master something, it's asymptotic, but pursuit is all that matters kind of thing.
Yeah.
People call me an asymptote from time to time.
Only math for us.
Only math nerds, that's true. And there are a nearly infinite number of them. So Mike, what we're seeing here is this idea that the goals that we can create here fall into two main categories: sort of individual competence of the members, and can we find a way to measure that? How are people learning and practicing and growing? And then the other one is what sort of
field report, right? So more start engaging in that field. I'm going to assume that you're reaching more,
or maybe we can actually have some kind of a way of collecting qualitative and quantitative data during that time or after that time in the form of surveys or something. Doesn't have to be survey. I don't like surveys, but so I'm gonna write in here your thought, Ken, because I think it's a good one. That's a touch point we have, an inspect and adapt loop with TAP membership.
also just the number of people that are showing up.
Yeah.
Simple metric
That is a
to know
simple
whether
metric.
we're
And then just
successful.
simple metrics, yeah. I think that's actually really germane to your point earlier. So why don't we take a minute or two? We still got 8 minutes or so. Let's talk about some of those simple metrics that we can start gathering every single tab that might be leading, lagging indicators of the effectiveness of the tab. So like for user story, how do you measure value? There are some things that you can measure like sales and revenue, but you don't know those until the end of the quarter, and that's too late to do anything about it. What are the leading indicators? So think about leading and lagging indicators of effectiveness for TAP. There's membership.
Attendance. I was sort of thinking about quantity versus quality. Well, I mean, how do you fairly measure the quality of an attendee? Possibly you look at the number of people who engage with sort of a participation as part of your grade. How many people are we getting engaged with it? Whereas there's always going to be different sort of personalities. Some people talk more, some people talk less. But if we're creating an effective environment, then even the introverts ought to spontaneously comment every now and then. I think that could be a vague but still useful indicator.
How you can measure that? That's
We'll
kind
have to, one of us will just stand to the side with a clip.
Or we just fit everyone with an
With a
instructor's
list.
wrap, right?
list of all the attendees. Made a comment. Made a comment.
Right. Here's what I
Let's heart monitor while we.
no. So here's what I love about this kind of feedback. That was a joke, right? But it spurred a thought in my head that may actually be useful. Be the judge.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
There is a technique for judging the effectiveness of a retrospective by leaving Post-its on the doors you leave.
Yeah.
So if we could give people a few Post-its, or just a single Post-it, everybody gets one, and we have a poster-sized thing somewhere, maybe on a column as they walk out, and that column could have categorical type questions or bits, and we're like, did you feel engaged? Did you this? Did you that? Did you that? You know, more of this, less of that. If we can come up with that, and we just ask them to take a Sharpie and write that thing, and maybe their name, maybe not. Just do that on the way out, and then we take a picture of that, or we digitize it in some data set, which we then can actually run numbers on.
I think we got everybody a fixed number of them. That's more useful, especially a small number, because definitely seen cases where people are just, I'm on the Post-its on everything, on it everywhere, and it's sort of that's a lot of static to the signature.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, usually by limiting to just a few, you get the most important stuff anyway. Okay. So I'll put down there some sort of, I'm going to call that a quantitative retro on the way out. And of course, we have our retro, which we do as part of it anyway, towards the end for people who, feel engaged enough to stay for that, which will generate certain things too, but wouldn't give us membership at large. So I've got overall membership, attendance. I'm going to put in something like a transience rate. So what I notice is we're up over 200 members, but I hardly ever see these people, which is cool, but that number is now lying to us a little bit. It's like, what is it actually telling us? So like rate of attendance, so if we know who actually walks through the door and who actually attends, we get to see like how often are these people here, like who are the regular attenders, who are the occasional attenders. And we might even ask them, why did you show up tonight? What was special about tonight? Because that might they might say, well, I was really drawn by the subject being spoken about.
Right.
One thing I've wondered for a while is how effective is actually saying this is the subject of our discussion. Does that draw people in, or is it just I want to show up to be part of the group, whatever happens?
Right. And just a simple question, based on Ty's experience, which you plan to come back next month.
Yeah, we plan to come back next month. So what I'm sensing here is that there are a number of these questions, and I'm envisioning a clipboard. Thank you, Brendan. I'm envisioning a clipboard where people say, just sign in. You pass it around, sign in, check a box, write a little short answer, a short thing, and then we can again digitize that.
Okay.
And build a data set and see what we see from it.
Now, we're already signing in with A6 Degrees North. I wonder if they have any sort of reporting with
That's what I was going to say. That you sign in, do we get a report of who signed in for tab?
I imagine they can get that to us. 36.
It's 36 around here.
Yeah, 36 degrees north. Sign in data is what I'm writing here with a question mark. Okay. I'm sensing that this could be a sort of cohesive group of work that one of us could choose to do. Like come up with the idea of how we're going to collect the sort of impact feedback from the group. One idea was the whole retro stickies at the end. The other was some sort of sign-in or otherwise survey of the group in real time, maybe as walking in or sitting down before pass type of thing.
And we just ask them to write on the post-it what the reason the game was.
Is that what you meant by putting a post-it
We
in the
could
retro?
do that. We could expand it. Yes, kind of. We could have, say, columns on the big poster thing, which is like, what you liked, what you didn't like, why you came, are you going to come next time, whatever.
It feels like overload almost.
It does.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Let me jump on this grenade. As far as developing my the marketing side of my own business, this is some stuff that I've been trying to develop through the interviewing and be a pulse for that customer.
Almost like maybe there is a net promoter score in there somewhere too that we could dive into with our members. With Brendan on that. That's good because we're 1 minute away from time box here. We didn't touch on the topic of how to sort of front load our taps so that we're not always worrying about the next tap. But we can save that for another day. We hit obviously what was most important on our minds at this point. Okay, now the last time is just open season. What I'll do, we tidy this just a little bit.
I'm going to lean back and shut up because I talk a lot, which is great, but also, maybe other people.
Okay. You can also just let the voting decide.
I'm going to practice observing those from that Jason.
Ooh, that's right. Okay. So let's approach this like lean coffee. Shout out something that you think is important that we talk about. I'll write them down. We'll do a quick spot check vote, and then whatever his vote is most highest, whatever gets the most votes. I cannot English today. We'll talk about, and we've got 15 minutes, so probably only one. Okay. I'll go last.
Probably should be within the, I mean, I guess we're going to vote on it anyway, but I would think that it should be within the context of more of the administrative side of what we're doing for TAP, right? We're not doing agile topics, right, at this point, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing there is just another discussion of administrative topics. Is there any
Well, I
one that's
guess-
like bubbling to the surface for you?
Yeah, that's where
Yeah, I guess like, how do we kind of, right now we're kind of scrambling to figure out what is our vision, what is our process, what are we doing?
Mhm.
But over time, some means of streamlining that process.
Hmm.
Whether it's a, monthly combine that we grab something and do it, or something, so we're not kind of starting from scratch each month, or what are we going to do next month?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm hearing the administrative need in that as well.
Yeah.
And I also make up that you're focusing in on the tool and the process so that it sort of downplays the importance of the meeting and like distributed working. Am I making that up correctly?
Yeah.
making that up, correct?
Well, I could be making it up and it's wrong, right? So I'm going to say category admin, the tool, process, with the goal of, on the goal statement there.
The we need to reduce the total, I don't know, monthly time commitment.
Yeah.
Or we will focus our energy on less on process and more on whatever our actual goals are, whether it's lining up speakers or maybe the more value side.
I think I'm hearing something in that, and I apologize. Maybe we just need to forget the whole voting thing
And just
and
kind of have an open conversation.
have an open conversation because I'm sensing something here and I want to see what you guys think. I sense a lot that I can't or don't want to move forward unless we're in agreement about something. It's like a consensus decision making. And if there's anything that I expect will kill this, it's that. That's management by committee,
Right.
decisioning by committee, and I have not met too many people who like that, except people who don't actually want to get stuff done. So I'm going to exercise some privilege here and just say that this is what we need to talk about right now. What do you all need to begin acting boldly and expecting that the rest of us will just follow? And that we will act boldly and the rest of you guys will just follow. True? Courage. What was that, Mike? You know, it's funny.
I was trying to be cute. I shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's more actually like I was talking outside. It's more like a flock of starlings. Any one starling in that flock is a leader at any given point. And the rest sense the change of direction and duck and weave to follow. But then again, the duckers and weavers become the leaders the next moment. But they've got to be able to communicate with one another. They've got to have a facility for learning from one another, or else the flock will not be able to do that. So I'm sensing that within this group, we need some way of being in communication with one another. So we can coordinate, but also what enables us to take courage and just step out and do something. Whose permission do we need?
We look to you, I think, a lot.
This is sort of the culture that you have in the group. Like I'm thinking of like creative spaces, writers, or a bunch of people that are on podcasts or whatever. They have an expectation that they can't just jump in, jump out. Partly it's maybe some structure, some top down, and somebody's the head writer. Sort of says, this is a space where I expect everybody to pipe up and you tell me your idea is stupid, but we love you.
That's the courage side of it, right? Fear of failure, right? Fear.
We do inhibit ourselves because we're afraid that we're going to get smacked for it. They have to. I think we were talking the other day about sort of the notion of people have to have trust that if they ask a question, they won't be shot down or treated rudely.
Yes.
And that's just basically a matter of evidence. Like you can top down manage and say this is our company policy, but it's in action, not words.
So I'm sensing a couple of things here. One is the need for an agreement among the group of us here that establishes what Google calls the most highly correlated factor in effective teams, psychological safety. You've got to trust that the people here have your back, that you won't be slapped for making a suggestion that doesn't end up being useful, and that you can actually act and follow your urge to act with the full support of the group. Now, you may be acting in a way that is, we'll say, out of alignment with how the group is thinking, but maybe we look at that and we say, oh, that's interesting, and we flock to you. But without that behavior, you're all still looking to me. And that's the part of this whole thing that is unsustainable. So what is one thing we can do, or maybe a few things we can do in the next few weeks to, number one, establish that understanding between us, that contract?
Drugs.
Drugs. Excellent. Mike, can you get us some drugs? He's not.
I can.
Okay, good. All right. So beyond that, this idea of you've got the permission, you've got the facility in front by the group to do it.
How does that work? Because, you say that you're free to have ideas, and still, if we said you're not doing management by committee, how does something happen? I guess I can't see that.
I think that you have to sow the seed. You have to throw out some sort of fodder for creativity. You can just say, everybody, you can say anything you want now.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's what I think I would get.
Exactly.
If we left this room and I got on to our communication line and start saying, here's what we're doing next week, it'd be, well, who is that guy? I mean, again, maybe we do have that open environment, but there still has to be some kind of.
Yes.
I think
It's called designing the environment.
that particular thing, like here's what we're doing, like the is, but you still need to have some kind of So there was I think it's a Navy admiral, and he has a great book. I want to remember his name. David
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
No-
like,
no
basically
longer
saying,
commanding
this is what
control.
this is what I intend to do at the next thing. And you're not forcing anybody else to do that, just saying, no, this is what I want to do. Anybody else interested in doing that's not, maybe I'm inviting you into this that I'm trying to create here.
Exactly. So maybe I would suggest altering the statement you made earlier. Instead of saying, hey guys, this is what we're doing tonight, this is what I am doing tonight. You have complete control over that. And you may actually have complete authority at some point to say, hey, this is what we're doing. It all has to do with the sort of appropriateness in the moment, and the trust, and how people see your role. I mean, it just, like, for example, if I were to say, this is what we're doing, that would sound different, only because there's this sort of role that I've walked into. But the point is, if you say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to prepare this talk because I'm doing it now and it's interesting and I want to get feedback on it. Right. Or I've got this guy, he's doing something interesting, or this gal, she's doing something interesting. I'm going to put it on the agenda. It's also web devs. They've got a GitHub repo and they've got issues. And for every...
Oh, God, that image.
Peasants are revolting.
Sorry. You said a classic joke for all software developers is standard code.
So they just put out a call for papers every single month, essentially, and say, who's got something that they'd like to talk about? And people say, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about this. And then they just do a lean coffee type vote. Who wants to go here? Who wants to go here? Who wants to go there? At that point, the content takes care of itself most times.
A bit like what you guys did last time then, right? Yeah, similar to that, yeah.
So what I'm getting from this is there's still some work to be done that I need to own on designing the environment within which we are all co-leading. Not only should you understand that you are free to act and called forth to act in a way that you want to, there is still something about the structure itself, whether it's the communication methods or the understanding of your sort of role as co-leaders, co-organizers, whatever you want to be called, that it's not permission because you already have that. It's something else. Something else that I need to work on designing the actual, we call it a domicile. What's the domicile within which we're living? And that, I think, is probably the most significant thing I can contribute in the next few weeks. Because if I can help create that for us, here's what I expect. I expect you all will then be catalyzed to the action you want to take anyway. You'll be able to do it, communicate with yourselves and others, and just flock like you will. But something's holding that back, and I need to figure that out.
There's a certain element of creative initiative taking, feeding off of each other's actions. Like artists, and they see what some other artists are doing, and that inspires them to do something better than it, or that's wholesale, great artists steal, so they just steal the idea. And so there's a certain amount of momentum that's pushed into the system, and it has the inertia at that point that you're spinning. Whereas at the beginning, the freedom doesn't cause motion; it just allows it.
That's true. It's true. It doesn't get in the way, but it still needs to be catalyzed. Yeah. Well, we're 3 minutes away from our last time box, and one thing that I'd like to propose is that one thing that always seems to happen is at the end of these, I focus on generating the content by facilitating this, and then there's lots of stuff, and at the end, I'm like, I got to input all this to something. So let's think for just a minute, and I may ask you all to give me 5 more minutes or so. How do we want to take what we've just done here and turn it into something that we can monitor and is useful to us?
Well, let's see, there's the post-meeting surveying process that I take from this table as my action item.
Okay. Post-meeting survey process. So I'm going to give this to you.
Are you asking that, how we take that away from here and get those things done, or how do we put them somewhere so that we can all?
I just proposed that as like my responsibility from keeping on. segment with a different one.
Sure.
Well,
We can
no,
move
no, no.
off of it. This is a free, open, creative space. You're
Where's our
like a
little-
little bird.
Where's our little gym day? Like we gotta, yeah.
I want that. We
do.
need a little mock-up.
I'm going to take things from here that are mine, like that I'm gonna own, and just put them in our Trello board, our those Tulsa Tech Talks Trello board, so that you all can see that I'm progressing on things. Mike, you know that Trello board, right? Okay. And for me, I'm just gonna write down the TAP, engineering the TAP domicile. I don't know what that means. Good. I know, it's a little archaic, or not archaic, but esoteric, isn't it?
Good strong one-word response on there.
Good. There's also the code for Tulsa, but for agility idea. I think that's something we just need to remember.
Yeah. It's a fairly large piece that we could try to put together. So it's going to be more digesting before it's ready.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a wrong metaphor because the output of digestion is not something.
Yeah, we want it to sort of stick around and block the whole system.
Yeah, a little more workshops.
Okay, we've also got the idea of the next tap, like recording we're starting the agenda for next time. Neil, you and I are going to start that. So we can stick around a few minutes now if you want. Yeah. Okay. Dallas speakers. Mike, you said that's something that you'd want to.
Actually, I was going to reach out to Rob.
You're going to reach out to Robbie.
Yeah.
And Mike, you said that you may be able to survey some of the Dallas speakers to see who might be interested in traveling versus video. Oh, you're muted, man.
You're muted.
I think you're muted. Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, the puppies were barking. I will contact Allison and see what that speaker list looks like and see what the parameters are around it for us.
Okay, so we can sort of be aware of what you're doing and respond if we want to. Would you mind copying this group when you do that in some way?
No, it's private.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Of course, I'd be happy to.
All right, so I'm going to say Dallas speakers is Mike. Mike, would you mind adding a Trello card for that?
I got it.
Awesome.
I'll take video speakers. I'll get in with 360 North, find out if we know that they have projectors. I'll find out if they have the sound wiring.
Yeah.
So that when he gets one lined up, is the facility ready for it?
I'm going to put also there a practice or a proof.
That's
Prove
it.
it
Yeah.
out. Mhm. Practice test. I can be available for that if you want. Because I'm close.
Right.
Would you mind making a card for that?
Sure.
Trello card. We've also got this elicit practical learning from our members. That's almost like an internal marketing campaign. Like, who wants to contribute? You know what? Let me make that part of my domicile thing. So I think these two have an affinity for one another. Yeah, I think they do. So I'm going to include those, and I'll make my own Trello card.
We did good.
That's good. I
got more to do.
I think we got a lot cited, which is a measure of progress most times.
So we didn't get a topic for next.
Yeah, we didn't get to that. We ran out of time. What is your urge? What would you like to do? You don't have to be the guy talking about this. Just
I was with substitute teachers who like video.
Yeah.
the number of times I watched Apollo freaking 13. Oh my gosh.
Back to the Future in Spanish.
You know what? There's a bit of discomfort leaving it open-ended.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to know what we're doing, but
See, my aspect has become sort of, we're always focusing on what we do next, maybe this is a good exercise. addressing that fear.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that can happen if we don't make a plan?
Clean coffee.
Clean coffee.
Yep.
We do the improv. We take suggestions from the audience. Maybe someone from the audience stands up and starts telling a story about what they're trying to work.
We go to prayer, we get very drunk.
Yes.
Credits.
Yes. But also we would do it again.
And we realize we're old men.
So I'm gonna.
Why, if I go to, so tomorrow night is Tulsa JS, which I'll probably go to. If I talk to them tomorrow, I need to give them audition.
I would challenge you in this way. Think about why you attend and just tell them no. Don't tell them why they should attend.
Let's test JS.
Then meet up based on JavaScript and other technology.
Well, on that, because I've thought about some, and I've mentioned people a few times. There has to be some.
Sure.
So I'm not sure how we. Last year, I didn't go to last year. One before they had 100 attendees.
PMI points.
Yeah, and I thought about that too.
We should start offering PMI points.
Yeah, zero. Place going. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna report this back to the board. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
Maybe we need to build that model with Azure.
it. No, yeah.
That's all points.
You get 5 free story points every time you visit. There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, there's always more to do than we have time or money to do, isn't there? And that's the same story in software development, but heck, we've got to draw the line somewhere, and we might as well draw that here tonight. Thank you, gentlemen, for attending. If you'd like to stay for a few minutes, we'll get you hooked up with Trello. Also, Ken, do you have access to Trello? You do? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Feel free to take as much of the food as you would like. Mike, I can't give it to you, but maybe you can take a little sniff.
Very nice, very nice. All right, guys, I'll be in touch.
Okay, see you, Mike.
Good night.
In fact,